Okay, so welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. Exploring at the moment, or throughout this series of episodes, the top 10 greatest comic book rivalries of all time. So, coming in at number 7, and what a great one, is Superman and Brainiac. Ah, this is amazing. I mean, first of all, Superman, probably the greatest superhero of all time, one of my absolute favorites. So let's go straight into what makes this such a classic rivalry. This is one of the great matchups in comic book history. Brainiac is a villain that presents a threat to every aspect of Superman. He's an intellectual threat, a psychological threat, a physical threat. How many characters in the comic universe could put that on their CV? The dude has it all. Plus, my man always has a backup plan. So, I mean, this is one of the things I absolutely love about Brainiac. So, Superman, completely breaks him apart. He straight up, punches him in half, blows his ship up, and strands him in space with only his disembodied head and spine hanging out of it. And Brainiac still has the gall to say something, to chat back something cool like, "You've only presented me a minor setback, gal." And before realizing, in fact, that Brainiac has drone ships, and Brainiac's been 10 steps ahead of Superman from the very beginning anyway. That is the great thing about Brainiac. I love the fact that there's always multiple levels of dastardly deeds that he's involved in, where Superman's thinking in a four-dimensional universe, Brainiac is thinking in a 13 dimensional multi-universe. So that is one of the great things about Brainiac. Another element that makes this such a compelling feud is just how malleable these characters are. I mean, if you think of how many different comic, stories and incarnations there are of Superman and Brainiac and how they work together, I'll go into Superman first in this sense. I mean, look how many different ways we've had Superman in a kind of realistic world, like in Birthright. We've had Superman, where Brainiac actually appeared, where he was raised in the Ukraine, and ended up taking on or being imbued by the very values of Stalinism and the Warsaw Pact. And ended up being the embodiment of socialism throughout the world, and Brainiac plays a huge role in that. Superman's story is just classic. Whether you like him or hate him, or think he's a bit boring, or he's the biggest Boy Scout in the world, you can't help but realizing how perfectly constructed the Superman story is. It can take on any form. It can be put in the real world. It can be put in a completely goofy camp world. What is the story? It's the story of an immigrant from a destroyed race, a destroyed planet, shot from the heavens to the earth, raised by parents, or adopted by parents who represent the core values of humanity, and therefore becoming, even as a god, perhaps the most humane person in the world. And you can take that story, you can say, what if Superman landed in South Africa during apartheid? What if Superman what if Superman's parents had followed him in the ship and then come with him and become the first family of Krypton? on the earth. There's so many ways you can like retranslate that story. And then you have Brainiac, of course, who has gone through various incarnations, one coming from Kalu, and being a super intelligent alien that seeks to assimilate all the knowledge from all the different planets and then destroy them, and then him being a supercomputer on Krypton, realizing that Jor-El, Superman's father, was in fact correct about the destruction of the planet Krypton, but wanting to hide it from the Kryptonians because he knew he couldn't survive or escape himself if he was trying to convince the Kryptonians as well of the imminent destruction of their planet, Krypton. So there's various incarnations, and each time these two butt heads, it's great because on one hand you have Lex Luthor, who, yes, he's an intellectual match for Superman, but there's very few super villains in Superman's rogues gallery that just represent that triple threat, which is so great when you just get a triple threat: psychological, intellectual, and physical. Brainiac can do it all against Superman. So as I said, it's a classic definition of a hero's story. Very simple. You can compare it to classical mythology. It means that with mere simple strokes you can deliver so many versions of these same characters without corrupting the original idea. As such, Brainiac can fit into a world where Superman was found by the Nazis, or the Martian Manhunter planet by John Jones, or the Joker in the 1800s. All that little ship has to do is land somewhere else, and boom, all of a sudden Superman's character is revitalized and refreshed. That is why Superman, for me, is the man. And why number 6? Because Superman is on here twice, with yet another classic rivalry. Brainiac is fantastic, but even he doesn't have the pure chutzpah of Superman's next rival. So that is why he is not number 6. Thank you.